So it's day time now. It's about 1 p.m., something like that. Um, I'm up. I ran some errands, which turned out to be not too fruitful this morning, but is what it is. I'm just enjoying the weekend for what I can. I've got a lot of planning to do and stuff. The good thing is I've already gotten ahead a little bit, and I've been preparing myself for NakaCon and in Liu, the next show as well too, by getting reproductions done. I had done a newer work. This is a character I did, Nuke. Um, he's gonna be a 4x6 reproduction. I shouldn't be throwing my original artwork around like that. I should have been holding it with white gloves or something going. And this will be available too, for a nominal fee of something. I don't know. But at any rate, I've been doing that, and then we've been working on my comic. Some of you have probably seen it online, somewhere on Twitter or on my website or something. This is for my comic, my other independent comic, Ardor. It's just a little mini one-shot. It's a 0 issue. It's just going to be a couple pages, and I believe I'll have it available for about $1 or $2, something like that for the issue. Black and white. It's going to have a color cover on it and that sort of thing. So I would show you the color cover, but this video is in black and white. So at any rate, so getting back to what I was talking about before, this is kind of what it is. On the weekends, you know, as any of you know that are artists or of any kind, or creatives, or people in business for yourself or whatever, you don't stop working on the weekend. You find some time to do a few extra things and do a few things and stuff like that. But honestly, it's working about 7 days a week. Which the crazy part about that is, and I guess that's something I wanted to reflect on today. I had seen something that talked to, like every single time I talk to somebody, they're always so busy that they can't. And this is not directed at anyone in particular. This is just something I've seen when I was working corporate or when I was working anywhere else. You'd have people like, oh man, hey, love to hang out, but let me see what my schedule is like. And I find it really odd. And this isn't a slam on necessarily the American way of life, but I do know that at some point in time, it seems like the busier we are, it seems like we're almost creating this faux concept of us being in demand. Now, to some degree, we probably are that busy. I am not going to be somebody that's going to knock the idea of us, as in general, as not, especially if you're an entrepreneur of your own, you're going to be working weird hours. You're going to be working 16-hour days and doing things like that. Sure. My point is more along the line that it's fine if you can do that, but this is something that I came into realization not that long ago. I ended up missing out on so many more things. As much as I would love to do art 24/7, real life gets in the way, and this is true, whether it's, dealing with my family, a vet trip, for one of my dogs or cats or something, or anything along that line. That's the sort of stuff that starts to come forward and put what your main goals are in disarray to a degree. It's really something that I've learned that they're all interrelated. And it's finding that, oh man, that's another corporate thing, that work-life balance. And I'd always struggled with that because I'm very single-track minded. Unfortunately, that's something that I've been trying to work through for a very long time to varying degrees of success. Some of it has been where I get so single-minded, that, and here's the thing, I'm easily driven to distraction. This is no joke. A while back in one of my jobs, I remember telling one of my coworkers that there's certain things that can be done that will totally drive me off onto a tangent. One of them is if somebody pulls a little bit of tissue paper out of a box and it's just that tissue there. Well, in this particular instance, and this was at a job I'd held at years ago, there was a guy that sat at a desk not too far from me, but I didn't really mind so much, and sounds so stupid, but it's true. This is just indicative of what my personality can be like. The tissue was up, which I'm OCD anyway. I'm fine with that. It was the fact that the fan was sitting there blowing on occasion, not all the time, but the fan would occasionally waft it, so it was just kind of fluttering. It looked like one of those crazy, wacky, inflatable wobbler guys. And every single time it did that, my mind would stray. I would look at it and then get lost in thought or something else like that. And I would actually go over, and this is probably so messed up, I would tuck it back in, and I know some people are like, oh, you're using your hand or whatever, For me, it was more the fact that I had that distraction sitting there. I didn't like it. But using that example is what I'm trying to say with this, is that it plays into the same thing. I end up struggling to stay focused a lot of times because my mind will wander on a lot of things. But the truth is that to better maximize your time, you can make all the lists in the world. I even use a tracking software on my phone that I can log in certain, which is weird because I will say this, some of my jobs I had to fill out Excel spreadsheets and different things like that to figure out what I had worked on, what I didn't work on, that sort of thing. That was maniacal and completely crazy and nuts, and it wasted more time than it really benefited. In my circumstance, I was able to actually go to an app and just click on it. I'm not very exact with it. I don't have to fill out anything ad nauseum or in depth. I simply have to know, okay, this is how much am I, and I log everything. If I'm playing, Fire Emblem Heroes or something like that on my phone, or I'm reading one of my books or doing something along that line, I go through every step and I make sure I'm maximizing how much time I'm doing on other things. Because of that, I'm able to look at that and go back and go, oh, okay, so out of a 10-hour day, this is what I did. This is why I think I don't have enough time. It opened my eyes to something. Here in Western culture, we do tend to believe like, oh, I'm so busy, or you talk to somebody and tell me this isn't true. We all have friends out there, and we might even be those friends, that when somebody asks you or you ask of them, hey, so what are you doing? How's your day going? Would you like to get lunch or something? Oh, well, dude, I gotta check my planner. I gotta see what's going on. Okay, I'm willing to admit that there are people out there that are that busy. I know for myself, I was putting other things in the way of those friendships, in the way of so many things, and I still do it to this day. Unfortunately, there's not a lot that people can do, especially if you're your own boss or if you're making efforts to move forward on something or doing a niche sort of profession. Hey, that's life. I get that. But there's also got to be time to, in my case, I have dropped a lot of my hobbies, from gardening to, even doing yoga as much as I would like to just even reading, which is something that horrified me. I used to read at least a couple of chapters out of a book a day. It didn't matter what it was. It's primarily fiction. This is the stuff that I would read. But it was still something where it would rejuvenate me, refuel me. And if not, I love going to the movies. I know movies can be expensive and that sort of thing, but that was something I like. I like the spectacle. I like the big screen. Even to a certain degree, I like watching it with a really reciprocative crowd. Sometimes that doesn't always work out, and sometimes you've got annoying little kids in the audience at times. So, but all that aside, one of the biggest challenges that I've been dealing with in getting back to what I was talking about originally and getting ready for NakaCon is just making sure that I'm preparing myself early enough. It used to be where I wouldn't even start getting ready for shows, honestly, like maybe for a week or two before, because I assumed, oh, I've got enough stuff. The problem with that is that I'll get to the show and I can't tell you how many people know this, because of the fact that I would always lament it whenever it happened. I would forget business cards. This time they're packed in there. I would forget a set of reproductions that I left laying out that I had just freshly put together, put business cards in. And sure, the bonus to it being a multi-day show is that you do have the chance to, go back and get the stuff. If you're lucky, if you brought it with you, if you traveled from out of state, you're kind of hosed. And so the local shows, that's okay, but I still look at it as, but that first day was that first push, that first impression on people. And I much rather would have been able to, garner a sale out of it or make a connection that way. And when I don't have my business cards or I don't have something else to sell or whatever the case might be, that's just running a business poorly. That's not even taking it seriously. It's like a casual hobby at that point. And the other thing I've noticed too about myself is that, especially now since like I said, I had literally started getting ready a lot earlier, I was able to start really writing down exactly how much of each thing I had, and I'm going to take a much better, not unlike what this video series is, I'm going to take a much better encapsulation of, okay, this is how many I have, and this sort of thing, and I'm keeping track of it all electronically so the sales will make sense, and I can go back and look at, okay, well, these were the shows that really made sense. And, even if like in this case, I can't speak to other professions, but in the art profession, you do take that gamble. If you travel, you've got to take into account where do you stay, what kind of wear and tear is happening to your vehicle. What other sort of logistics are there? Do you have battery backup? Do you have solar panels for your electronic equipment? All of these sort of things. Did you forget a cord that would charge your Square card reader? Things like that. And granted, there's always workarounds. There's always safety things you can do for that. But the truth is that the more you prepare yourself, and I'm finding that, I should know this. I was a Boy Scout forever, Eagle Scout. And that was one of the things, be prepared, you know? That's the Scout motto. Right? Right? Yeah, that's yeah. Oh man. Really should turn in my Eagle Scout badge. But so at any rate, that's some of the things that I've been doing to get ready. And you know what the other biggest thing is that I found, and especially right now with most social media being kind of a firebrand, I can't even be on Twitter that long without seeing something that's going to inflame me. Not necessarily about the current political situation, which, to be completely honest, I'm really over at this point. Not because I'm willing to ignore things. No, that's not the reasoning. The fact is that I hate to see the division that happens between people, and it's kind of it's not kind of, it's a very debilitating thing for me, because I very much resonate with the idea that, hey, I'm going to go to shows and, you know, art gatherings and things where people are working together in a synergy, and not just creative people. You're also interacting with the audience, not through sales and things like that, but how they react to your art. I've always said that a good or a bad reaction is fantastic. What's horrible is no reaction to your art. And especially in today's political climate, where things like the National Endowments for the Arts and stuff like that are starting to take a backslide, if not be completely eradicated, there's no better time to be out there essentially preaching the word of art and the needs and necessary concepts behind that. We need that. As a culture, how else would we do that? Even doing something like a vlog, if you know, like this, God, I hate that word vlog, I'm still using it. Oh God, I should go get a job at IKEA. And if, you know, anything along that line, if you do any sort of stuff like this, you're expressing yourself. And I do believe that anyone can do art to a degree, you know. But I also believe that 10,000 hours spent on something makes you more than just a hobbyist or whatever. You truly become a professional. You're aspiring towards something. That's what I consistently work toward. I don't know that I've put 10,000 hours in a drawing. I might have, but that doesn't necessarily put me into the high elite level of artist. It just makes me somebody who's a practicing professional. And I believe that, you know, when you go to shows like that, for the most part, they can be very positive, very empowering things that you go through. They're great. You know, they're fantastic. On the flip side, being on social media too long can surprisingly eat up your time. Using that time manager, I found out that on some days I would be just looking at Twitter, or occasionally, you know, I'd go through different things like just, you know, the news cycles or whatever, and look at stuff, and I'd be online for what, 3-4 hours a day? What else could I have been doing that time? I could have been cleaning, I could have freaking done laundry, but more importantly, I could have been doing artwork, I could have been writing, I could have been thinking, I could have been even reading a book that would have inspired something else. I could have gone and seen a movie or rented one in that time. I could have actually taken the time to write some friends back. I could have taken the time to do a lot of other things. But we get, and I say that as a society, because if that weren't the case, you wouldn't see so many comments and rapid fire exchanges happening over everything political right now and all these other things that are happening. And we spend so much time like that. I wonder and worry if, as a society, we're not kind of playing into this whole thing of division. Because here's the truth. If I'm busy arguing with somebody about the ethics of canceling art programs, or maybe transgender bathrooms or something like that, which, by the way, this is just my own 2 cents on that, and I've recorded this in one of my podcasts, the very first one I did about ZineCon. At the first location, they had it was just a universal bathroom. And I remember that a buddy of mine that was with me, we're not necessarily, you know, curmudgeons or stodgy in any respect. I didn't know, and part of it was born out of respect. I mean, I was always, you know, like, hey, you stay away from the ladies' room, that sort of thing, and I get that. And I think for me, it was more a sense of propriety, and I wasn't worried about it. I've been to camps. I know that European Boy Scouts and stuff like that have both girl and boy members in them and that sort of things. And I'm not, you know, like when you go to the bathroom, you're going in there to do one of two things, right? And when you're in there, I believe the vast majority of people don't really care. But I do believe that there's some people that maybe are so mortified by that. The truth is, we're humans. And, you know, no matter what the hell is down there, we're all kind of doing the same thing. And see, now I'm totally off on a tangent. See, do you see what I'm saying? That is exactly what ends up happening. But I just verbalized what happens on Facebook. You end up going off on these long tangents, and they soak up time. Look at how much time that just took up. I dare anybody to go back on the time frame and see if I haven't been talking for at least 3 to 4 minutes, even though it seems like only 30 seconds. And that's what can happen in your day. And I bound and determined myself to not do that as much. And unfortunately, when you're trying to run a business, you're also on that flip side of like, well, how much do I pimp my Patreon? Or how much do you go out there and talk about Patreon at The Artisan Rogue? How much do you also do stuff where you're trying to talk about Twitter, or you're trying to talk about these other things, but you almost end up falling back in that same trap where you spend time out there? I can't tell you how many times that Wikipedia has literally claimed my soul from like 10 p.m. till like 5 a.m. And don't tell me you guys aren't familiar with that, because that sort of thing does happen. And it's just like a lot of the web cartoons you'll see out there. You start off and you're like, I wonder if Mr. Rogers really did have tattoos. And then somehow by the end of it, you're looking up stuff on nuclear physicists. And it doesn't even make sense. It really doesn't. And that's the sort of thing that I wonder if we don't end up with such, it's not really a myopic view, but it is something where we end up focusing so much on things. We almost want simplicity. We almost crave a retroistic view on how we do things. And we want simplicity, we want access, we want all the information, but we don't want to digest it. We don't want to invest in it. We want to understand the top coating of it. And I used to hate this term at one of my jobs. You're going to hear a lot about me complaining about jobs on here. This is probably terrible. Any future person trying to hire me is going to be like, God, this guy complains a lot. Yeah, but I'm honest and I'm truthful about it. It is what it is. But I remember one of the terms that I'd always hear all the time. Here's a really good example. And I feel comfortable talking about this. There was a server crash. I'm going to tell this and then probably end this so I can get back to work on my NakaCon stuff. But I felt like sharing this story. There was a server issue that had happened at a company that I worked at. And when I say server, I mean it was like tape data backup, sort of 60s, 70s sort of technology. And I remember when I was a production artist that I tried my best to say, I believe something is wrong with this system. Now, mind you, I was one production artist in a larger group, and one of my other colleagues who was also a production artist, she had worked on those systems far longer than I had. She understood that something was wrong, that something was really going bad. And it was one of those things where you end up telling people, this is going to break, this is not good, here's a warning sign, here's another warning sign. I'm telling you I'm seeing warning signs. In fact, you're seeing these warning signs, but you just don't want to admit it. And it was always a circumstance of people that probably made way more money than I did, thought they knew better. And I'm not knocking anybody, because there's certainly plenty of people out there smarter than me doing stuff far greater and with far more impact than what I do. But in certain circumstances, if you work around stuff, sometimes a gut reaction or just a little bit of a hint internally can maybe save a company, or because if they listen to people, then they would find that sort of thing out. Well, long story made short, the servers failed. Part of them did. A lot of things were lost. And I remember that they almost ended up spending the better part of a year trying to repair the damage. Thankfully, they ended up paying quite a bit of money to some third party companies to get stuff repaired. But I'll never forget that it's one of those things where during that whole thing, and this is the point of it all, I remember trying to give what essentially were light dissertations on why this thing was failing. That wasn't the only one. There would be, okay, here's the litmus test. A few months ago, I could do this, this, and this, and this, and it wasn't slowing down, it wasn't crashing, there weren't errors, all these other things. Now, it's consistently doing that. But all they wanted to hear was high level, including this ridiculously corporate hand movement. I wanted high level. High level. Why? That's how things go underneath us. That's how things get by us, is when you want things high level. In a corporate factory, you're going to get people that are going to be so scared to protect their jobs. You're going to get people that are so worried about what the outset of that is going to be that somebody's going to turn and go, you jackass, how is it these other people were able to figure this out, but you kept telling me things are fine? And it literally is almost like an emperor with new clothes kind of scenario, where you just want to hear the good because you know there's bad, you just don't want to have a bad day. Come on, man. And because of that, see, man, look at that. This whole thing should be about like just getting lost on tangents, shouldn't it? At any rate, okay, I'm going to definitely end this one while I'm in a chipper mood and I'm thinking about high level stuff, high level. And this feels like it should be a political thing. High level. And get to work on my stuff. And then I had decided that I probably won't do this daily. I say that, I'm probably going to renege on that. But the reason being is because this is just as much something where I use up my time and I'm like, great, okay, what am I going to do now? But I really want to make sure that I'm getting as much stuff done as I possibly can and staying to my organization. And as soon as I get done filming this and editing it and putting it online, that's going to be time out of my day that I could have been doing some drawing. I will be doing some filming of videos and stuff like that as well, as you've seen. But it's one of those things where I become obsessed with how much time I spend on stuff, and maybe the more I think about it, the more I think this video blogging experiment is gonna be something positive for me. I hope. Who knows? Hey, you never find out anything unless you try. So there's that.